you have ever believed it?
Welcome to podcast number 200 in the long, somewhat hard to get through Crushing Iron Triathlon podcast.
I gotta admit, I got a little tear in my eye right now.
Are you getting allergies?
No, it's just a sentimental moment.
Sentimental moment. Yeah, this I definitely wouldn't ever have imagined that when when you told me to purchase this Logitech headset on Amazon, because my iPod phones just weren't cutting it, that it would see the day of 200 podcasts coming to you for almost two years, and at 2 days, 2 podcasts a week for the entire time with no misses. A couple holidays, a couple Thanksgivings, a couple Christmas Eves and Christmases, and a slew of other totally meaningless holidays bank holidays that we celebrate, and we continue to work. We work for the people, and it has been quite the ride, that's for sure.
And I gotta say, I look at the numbers and there's a little momentum too. People are starting to buy into this thing we're doing.
Well, I think some of them are some illegal soliciting. As I check our closed Facebook group, and hey, listen, if you're a podcast listener, you deserve to be rewarded. Because, if we're totally honest, sometimes it takes us at least 45 to 50 minutes for us to find our groove, and then we kind of cap it out at 60 minutes.
Yeah.
We've had a dogcast. We talk about college sports. We talk about other things that, I know that isn't the favorite of some of our listeners because they can't relate or they just don't care. But we do. We cover a lot of triathlon content. We give away a lot of free triathlon training content and tips and advice and race recaps and reviews and strategies. And then we also cover what I think a lot of people really appreciate too, is just the average everyday life and the reality of it. And those people should be rewarded because it ain't easy.
It ain't easy.
It ain't easy. And
I tell you what, I think it's easier than listening to terrestrial radio. Sometimes I
don't even know what that is.
Well, it's just radio on your car. I just, I've been listening to
terrestrial radio. Is that what they call it?
Yeah, they do.
Radio,
because it reaches out and it tethers you in. But man, I had I'm listening to classic rock, lately. I can't win, and I put on classic rock, and this morning I put it on, and I'm ready to listen to, some Zeppelin or some old stuff that I, miss on occasion. And these 3 yokel DJs are talking about Justin Bieber's dual citizenship now. And I'm like, how does this even fit? At least we kind of try to relay, we talk about college football or something, we try to make it fit a little bit, but classic rock and Justin Bieber, I'm not feeling it, man.
Or how about we, go a little bit further and say, who gives a shit?
Okay.
Honestly, there, and that's why I think hopefully our podcast resonates with people. And excuse the language, I'll have to drop an explicit lyric on this one. And if you've been driving the car and your little ones are in there, just tell them I said, something else. And, but yeah, it's, there's a whole lot of noise in the world anyway. And we, at least I feel that, with the emails and the feedback we get, people enjoy the triathlon content, but I guess the other life part of it too, because there's a lot of noise out there and there's just a lot of dissension and negativity and this willingness to want to separate people and always argue about things. And, I remember we went through the phase we were trying to find something that we could disagree on. And while we don't always agree, we definitely aren't that's definitely not our shtick.
Well, it's just seeing both sides of things. I think that's part of what's going on, is that people will just immediately jump on a side instead of trying to see somebody else's perspective. That's what we do. You've always done that with me, and I've always appreciated it. You've always, since I've been in this sport, you've been ahead of me in this sport and known a lot more about it, but you're willing to listen to my cockamamie ideas, at least give them a shot sometimes, and every once in a while you implement one.
Yeah, I definitely listen to them, and I do proceed with extreme caution.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's all about listening and taking everything for what it's worth and the grain of salt, and just trying to figure figure things out, and just kind of like how we've gone about just trying to figure things out ourselves with the podcast and the direction we wanted to go and how far we wanted to maybe reach. And even though we've had basically zero control over it, all we've really done is show up, twice a week. And that's, I think that you never know what'll happen or what can happen. And, it's very much like training and life. And just, if you're just consistent and you just keep showing up day in and day out, you might grow to, you might achieve something or become something you never thought. And I definitely never thought that we would be sitting here doing podcast 200. Well, maybe not just podcast 200, but then when I think about like the day-to-day life that I live now, and obviously coaching full time, that's kind of a separate thing from the podcast, but it's also not, since I've met so many people through the podcast. But just how many close friends I've gotten, and you go to races and you meet people and you talk to people, and like how many people have like had over 100 people come into town the last year and a little over a year to our training camps and met those people, and then you go to races and meet people, and just the connections that you like, actual connections like with people. Like you meet face to face, and you get and then to kind of look and see like the other friendships that have grown and connections that have taken place through our closed group and people that are meeting up. And that's definitely been one of the most enriching aspects of trying to do this.
I agree. I mean, yesterday you said you've met some of your best friends over the last couple of years, and I have to agree with that. I mean, hosting those camps, having people stay at the house, meeting people, I mean, listen, we don't
stealing my line.
I know. It's starting to grow on me. I think we might be releasing a shirt that says that soon, by the way. So keep an eye out for that in our new store, which I have to make an announcement about. We do have a shop tab on crushingiron.com now with a limited range of t-shirts, some of the classic logo shirts in different colors, and then we have our official C26 Spectator shirt with one of our favorite phrases, "Hurry slowly," on the back.
Slowly.
And it's a gold, very citable shirt on the course.
Much
you know
like
how that
kids.
feels when you're looking for some love out there and you can't pick out your spectator because they're wearing some trendy black outfit that just blends right into the crowd. We want people that are excited to be out there, and it's a good-looking, good-feeling shirt, and we encourage you to order soon to maybe get it by Chattanooga, and certainly get it by Louisville, where we'll be.
Yeah, it is proven that if you buy your Spectator crew these shirts, it is proven to save you, the athlete, 38 seconds over the course of an Ironman.
Oh yeah. That was one of our studies.
Yeah, we studied that. We proved it, that the amount of time it takes for you to slow down in T1 and turn your head to look when running out of the water for your crowd coming out of T2, the amount of time you slow down on the bike to see them, and then slowing sometimes to a walk or even turning around to catch them on the run, we're basically going to save you 38 seconds over the course of Ironman, which could mean, that's a free porta potty break.
Oh yeah, these shirts allow you to keep your eye on the prize.
Yep, PR. It's got PR written all over it.
Because you know how it goes. When you see somebody, you kind of just get a little bit more of a, bounce in your step too.
Of course you do.
I think, 38. What'd you say? 38 seconds. That's a little low. I think that might be a safe estimate.
I like to play things safe. I don't like to. The theme of our podcast is, way undersell, and then do the best we can to, deliver and over deliver sometimes.
We definitely undersell on our social media.
Yeah, we definitely do. And I think that Facebook has taken it upon itself to sell for us, and so we've found ourselves in quite a quandary here.
Yeah, Facebook selling, and we're trying to
selling us, and we've had I've got 28 people right now in Crushing Iron Facebook purgatory, awaiting the accept and decline. And I gotta be honest, man. I'm not a huge fan of change, and I'm equal parts extrovert and introvert in a lot of ways, and I want to hold fast on the core and the community and the culture of our group, and like a lot of people said, like, you can, if you cast a big enough net, you're eventually going to get, some things you don't want snagged in it. And that's kind of, why we've always kind of made this a podcast. Like, to even know it exists, even though it's a private group, but Facebook does whatever they want anyway. That we've wanted to make it like, you'll always basically even know it exists if a friend in the group refers you, or you listen to the podcast. And like, if we're being honest, like, you gotta make it through a couple podcasts before you can even think like, how am this is something I could be a part of. So you're going to get the right kind of people. Because sometimes I feel lucky, because I think sometimes the only reasons we even have such like good 5-star reviews, because most people don't listen past the first 30 seconds to give it one. They're like, wait a minute, I thought this was going to be about Kona and power numbers and FTP and my running power meter, and they're talking about some random crap. No, I'm even giving it to it. But if they listen to it, long enough, and for 8, 9, 10, 12 weeks, we eventually say something that clicks. But
well, listen, we don't know it all. That's the thing, is I feel like we just kind of explore things, and we, like you're saying, it's consistency, and it's showing up, and it's doing the work, and we just talk about those crevices within the triathlon lifestyle that we all go through, and we just and we kind of take that into the closed group, and sort of that supplements some of the conversations that we have, and then we all try to figure it out together. It's not like I listen to a lot of podcasts myself, and it invariably I'll find one that really captures my attention, whether it be a certain interview or a certain topic, and then I'll try to listen on, and then it's like every podcast, whoever the host may be or whatever, then they start getting into this like know-it-all phase, and everything is about how to hack your life and change, like shortcuts to whatever, and it just starts really wearing me down, man. You can't really die. There's no like I don't know, like, I guess just theme to the whole thing, or there's no constant. Like, we have what we do is sort of like a bad soap opera, man. You just gotta keep coming back.
Soap opera.
You kind of get hooked, and you're like, yeah, I like the characters maybe a little bit, and I'm just
like, why am I even listening to this? Why am I even listening to this? But I kind of like it. It's kind of like, yeah. But no, it's been a crazy journey. But I can't even like count how many awesome people I've met through this, and through the athletes that we work with, and the camps, and going to races, and like, it's been awesome, and I definitely got to attribute that to a lot of people who probably the first 100 to 200 people in our Facebook closed group, because I'm still absolutely terrified to go back and listen to like the first 20 or 30, because I just can't imagine how terrible they are. But to stick through those, you got to be a true endurance athlete to stick through those. But yeah, it's been more highlights, I think, than I could even like begin to list in terms of highlights over the last 2 years. I'm not sure if that's the route we're going to go, but do you have a 200th episode like celebration topic podcast for today?
I don't.
You don't? All right. Well, you can wrap it up
here,
and we appreciate you listening to podcast 200. We'll come back to you 201 next week. But honestly, like, I think that a
lot of people have written us, man, that have quietly listened, I think, to most, if not all, of the podcasts, and thanked us, many times for helping them get through their races, helping them understand the nuances of this sport, whether they be getting in their first sprint or doing their first Ironman. I mean, I think a lot of what we've talked about over the years has just been, essential conversation about the sport, and especially when you don't know anything about it, and it's sort of like, me having access to you in the beginning, and we used to just hang out all the time and talk about triathlon, whatever kind of popped up. And those are the kind of questions that people have. And a lot of times people say that, whatever, during the time of the year it is, or whatever the topic may be, that it was just the right time. And, we just sort of listen. I think it's important to listen to what is going on in that group and what people are saying. Of course, you have 100 athletes, you're texting with and commenting with every day, and you're on the ground in the front line, and what's going on in their minds throughout the season. And those are the things we talk about, and I think that resonates. And it's just sort of like it's just like I think triathletes, we get into the sport and then we get excited about it, and it becomes challenging, and then we're all on a mission to maybe change our lives or, become better people or whatever. And then, we want to talk about it. And that's as simple as it becomes sometimes, is it? And no one else wants to listen, like your friends and stuff, it's like you just want to talk about everything you're doing, and nobody out there's like, yeah, whatever. So, we kind of offer that platform. I was just looking back to, it's like, remember what our first podcast was?
We hope you like us. Stick around. No idea. I can't even remember what it was called.
It's coming up to be relevant again. Setting off-season training goals.
Yeah, you know what? I know we had like setting off-season goals.
You there? I lost you. What would a podcast be if Skype didn't step up?
Seriously, good God. Killing me, Skype. No, I think, let's see, first podcasts were, setting off-season goals. Maybe even, I think maybe doing your race calendar might have been one.
Oh, yeah, that was number 2, how to plan your race calendar. 3 triathlon myths, which was...
triathlon myths, coaching philosophy.
Yeah.
How to not suck at swimming 1.
Ironman Wisconsin course breakdown was number 4.
Right off the bat. Yep.
Yeah, and then dealing with race pain. We were right on it,
Yeah. I mean, we were talking from experience. We had both just gotten done doing Wisconsin, I think. Yeah, a couple, like a month or two before that. So, yeah, it's been awesome, man. It's like, I know when we started, I was working for a different company. I was living in Kansas City. We had just had Hayden. He was like 8 or 9 weeks old. And then now, to look at, where we live and what we're doing, and it's it's crazy. It's crazy to think about just the topics and how they've managed somehow to connect to so many people, and the emails that we've gotten from people. And I do have to say that I think that while if you're looking for a podcast that's strictly triathlon 24/7, it is definitely not this one. Half of, if not more than half of, I think what resonates with a lot of people is how open we are with, and honest we are about our training and our, past and our personalities and things we've gone through, both kind of, on and off the race course and during training, and that a lot of people can resonate with that. And they, in a society, in a world where everybody pretends like everybody lives their life on Instagram, that life is perfect and everything has a filter, and it's selfie here, and then and life is great, and look at me eating this fillet and shrimp, and my life is grand. And the reality is you are probably eating ramen noodles out of the back of your car. But it's I think how open we are about and like vulnerable allows it, because I mean some of the stories that we've heard that people have shared in general in the closed Facebook group, or that our athletes share on our active athlete closed group, or the emails we've gotten, sometimes I'm just like blown away. It's, and we always used to say like, oh, subscribe on iTunes. I'm like, I don't even care if you like leave us a review, to be honest with you. Like, I quit worrying about that. Like, the more and more like emails we got that really seemed that things like clicked, and because like doing the sport is so incredibly hard, and it's just difficult. And I think you combine how difficult the sport is with how difficult a lot of people's lives are. Like life, life is tough. Life is really, really, really hard. Like, even if you're like, even if you don't have much going on and you're single with, minimal responsibilities and whatever, but like you start to add in jobs where you got to work for companies and corporations, and you got a boss, and you got a spouse, and you got kids, and you've got all these things. Like, life is just tough. And I think someone asked me like, maybe it was this last weekend, we had athletes in town. They're like, how many athletes do you have? And what's the, and I said, honestly, I could probably handle a lot more athletes if I wanted to, but the hardest part is like when you, because the more people you work with, the more stories you get, and obviously my athletes aren't any different than, Joe Blow down the street. Like, we all have stuff. We're all going through difficult things, and it's just like the enormity sometimes of, because the way that I like to keep things with the athletes that I work with is the way, because I love it, is to keep, like, it's a relationship. It's just like any other relationship, and they'll joke all the time that I get to hear things I work as like social worker, therapist, coach, all those things into one, and they'll usually tell me things that they would never tell anybody else, or that nobody else knows, and it's just a lot. But I love it because I love connecting with people and trying to help in as many ways as I can. And I think that a lot of my life before I started to do this and before I ended up getting sober was to prepare me to, like, be able to coach the way that I wanted to, and really diving into people's lives and being there for them, and them telling me things, and what can I do for you, and all that kind of stuff. And that's like, I guess that's like, because I've always really just like gotten, I'm not perturbed, but like when I see like coaches like charge people one-on-one to like just like work out with them, I'm like, what the heck? I don't get it. I don't get it. I don't get it. Like, why are you charging a good friend of yours to go ride the bikes together? Like, or run together? Like, it doesn't make sense to me. And maybe there's a reason. I get it's a business, but like, because like in the same breath, like it always gets on my nerves when people, it's not business, it's personal, or excuse me, it's not personal, it's just business.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, that's BS, because everything is personal. Everything is.
Right. I mean, that stuff always ends up, I think, turning the wrong way anyway. It's sort of like, I live in East Nashville, and well, Nashville in general, as we know, is just booming. I moved here 7 years ago, and my little coffee shop down the street was this, fun little, kind of interesting conversational place where people, you'd see a lot of the same people, and we'd hang out, and there was always seats, and, the people knew you. And 7 years later, it's like, 30 people out the door, lines, and, it's just a whole other vibe. It was like my little secret that I had, that I think a lot of people want to hold on to. It's like the minute something gets popular, like it's, next thing you know, they'll be charging valet parking, and it's kind of the same thing as, it's a business, and it's like, in a way, I mean, we've tried to run this whole operation, smart, but we've really had the reins on it, I think, in a lot of ways. It's like, we definitely want to do, we definitely believe we're connecting with people, and people are always contacting us, and it seems to be working. And we don't want to just, quote unquote, what's that, scale is the buzzword now. You got to scale. How's this going to scale?
How is this scalable?
I had a businessman friend of mine the other day. He was like, "Yeah, you guys." He took a picture of the triathlon. What's that magazine that comes? USAT or whatever.
I don't subscribe.
He took a picture. You guys are doing it right. You need to put an ad in this. And I was like, man, that's like the last thing we're going to do. We're like
the ROI on those are huge.
Yeah, this is just kind of, we're completely in unmarketing mode in a way. It's sort of like I don't think we've ever, like you're saying, I just want it to be something that resonates and, kind of grows in a way that makes sense and that the people, can latch onto rather than just numbers games. That's what the whole thing is. Like, that happens to me all the time. I'm like, I'm into somebody's YouTube channel and I'm like, yeah, I want to try this free ebook. And then I get 85 emails the next week about his life-changing Titan of the Year course or whatever the hell it is. And it's like, what? Where did this even come from?
Yep. But I get it, like I said, and I think like what has to be said, and it's probably like what will end up being like the overarching theme for this podcast is that as much as we get thanked, by the athletes we work with, the athletes on our team, random listeners at races, emails from people who, lurk in our closed group but never say anything, that thank us for whatever. This is truly like something that we should be thanking our listeners for.
100%.
And that's like when I was like going back to what I said about like charging athletes to work out with them on like coming in town. Like, do you know how much I get out of that?
Yeah.
It's not like I don't want your money to come ride with me. Like Camp Super Story because it takes a whole lot of a different thing. But like to come in town for like a ride, like, no, I'm not going to charge you. Like, let's like the value of connecting with people and having lasting friendships and meaningful relationships that like start about triathlon but then go like a million times farther, like that is without question the most valuable part of this. And while we need it, like my only get-go, and like you said, is like we don't care about it being scalable. We don't want to disrupt the market.
Ooh.
Or like, how is this $1 million idea? Like, what I really want? I just want to like be able to, make a decent living so I can be a good provider. But I just want to be able to do this for as long as humanly possible.
Mm-hmm. Because
like if you've listened to this podcast for long enough, like my backstory, and I think that some of the like very few of the people who listen to it now are people that I knew back before I got sober, which is like 6-7 years ago. And like to like think of like the life that I had then and the life that I have now, and like actual I think I was thinking about this last night before I went to bed. I was like, I think I've hugged more people in the last year than I have in like the first 20 years of my entire life.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that. You turned into quite the hugger.
I'm a hugger guy. Like you're a stealthy guy. I'm a hugger guy. Like I like hugs, but like I think it's like a lost art, man. It's like the firm handshake.
Wow.
You get like the dead fish handshake these days, especially with the millennials. But it's no, it's like you can't put a price. Like you can't put a price on the friendships that I've made that extend far beyond triathlon. In the athletes that I've been blessed to work with, and even the friendships they've had with Allie and Hayden, and like to see them, it's like they're true friendships, and that's how you want every coach athlete relationship to be. But like it is it has definitely been part of my evolution as a human. And while I will admit I do not do a very good job at accepting compliments or positive things. That's still something I work on, but doing this podcast has definitely been one of the best things I've ever done with my life in terms of connecting me with people, and gave me a lot of the courage when I moved back to Nashville to turn down a job that was you gotta, it was the same company I worked for in Kansas City, but they wanted me to kind of like prove myself and like jump through hoops because of my past and before the podcast and connecting with people and having the athletes and kind of just feeling like supported and that I could finally do it I finally like, and obviously Allie saying it was okay, but it was.
No, that was a huge moment, though.
It was like, all right.
When she said, "Go for it, man," I feel like I believe in it.
It's been.
I thank her for that all the time. I mean, I should thank her more, but I always think about that. I do think that what you're saying is so important, and just in general for people that because we have, in a way, I think the underlying theme sort of is, and we joke about what I said a long time ago about flipping the shark, and it's kind of in general how we kind of flip this business in a way that, how you were saying, you just want to kind of keep doing it and sustain it and enjoy it. And we're in Nashville, so I've known throughout the years many musicians, and I always get the sense that a lot of them are in it to sort of make a big record and get a lot of attention and sell 1 million records, and then just kind of be able to kick back, and live off of that, and just go to parties and get into drugs or whatever the heck happens when you don't have to work, and I always would say, it was always about getting that big label deal and getting that big influx of money and sign that big deal, and then you can kind of coast, which we all know doesn't work that way anyway, but they get delusional and they want to get on a big tour and get in front of millions of people and all that sort of stuff. And I always ask them, like, why don't you just put together a solid band and just build? I mean, today you can build a kind of grassroots following and do what you love all the time and tour around and make music and build your own fan base without anybody else involved, and spread your music and just enjoy playing. But I don't think a lot of you know what I mean? Like, I don't know if that love of the music is necessarily their first perspective. I think it's more about getting famous and making a lot of money so they don't have to do it. And the more we do this, the more I get into, and like lately I've just been more into training and just doing work and taking the little things out of it, meeting people, feeling good about a workout that I would used to dread, maybe, or something like that. You just that is the real prize, and I think at the core that's the sort of thing that we're talking about. Is this just be in the moment, and enjoy the little things, connect with people, have good community, and feel better about yourself and your health and your life,
And supporting other people in like a true meaningful way where you're not concerned on what you're going to get in return. Like you support people genuinely because you care and you want them to succeed, not because you expect something in return. Or it's kind of like, we all know the guy, and this is like typical triathlon, like, so what are you racing this year? And they honestly don't even care. But they know that the return question is, well, what are you racing this year? Oh, well,
the setup question.
It's always a setup question. Then you can't get them to quit talking. And I will say that if you ever want tips on conversation evasive maneuvers, I'm your guy. I can get out of a conversation like split on a dime. Allie can attest. I've left her many a times because she is horrible at confrontation. She will just she'll get cornered, and with she has no maneuverable capabilities. But I'm just like, oh yeah, that sounds good. See ya, and I'll just kind of turn away and walk, and I'm gone. But in with our closed group and with the athletes we've gotten to work with, it's just, and even the athletes that have gotten back to us especially like it seemed like there was we got tons of emails after Wisconsin from people who had like just incredibly successful races, and they said that we had been somewhat of a part of their
people we didn't even know about.
Yeah, exactly. Like we're talking like major ninja style lurkers in the Facebook group, like
ninja lurkers.
Yeah, like ninja lurkers that request to get in the group and then change their name after they've entered, so you like never really know. They just kind of float around the abyss. But we, and then like, oh, you guys give a lot of, we do. I feel like we give out a lot. Hopefully, a lot of free. The podcast is free. Of useful content that you hopefully can apply to like your day-to-day life and your training in a way that you can that can help you. And we honestly we don't ask for anything in return, really. Do we want to not go in the negative on the podcast? Yeah, that'd be nice. But in general, we just like to share from our athletes, from ourselves, to help other people, because that's honestly what it should be about, is helping other people, supporting other people, not doing it with selfish intentions, and being able to give back and freely, because that is the way that like sports grow, and that is the way that people within the sport gravitate to each other. Because triathlon for a lot of people it's where introverts come to pretend to be extroverts. It can be a very, very lonely sport. But I think another thing is like you want to help like take away the stereotype that triathletes are inherently selfish. And that they're elitist, and that all they want to do is talk about themselves, and they don't want to help. And you're always going to hear stories of it, always. Mm-hmm. Like we got one, via email yesterday from one of our old school original members, that she knows who she is, talking about, triathlon clubs. Like, yeah, you can't work out with us until you pay. What the hell? Mm. Like, hey, come pay so we can come all work out together and get sweaty and not talk, and we can just do like, it's like when somebody schedules a race on your normal running path. Like, why should I have to pay $80 to go run my normal route? Mm-hmm. But it's just there's and I get some there's businesses people have to run, and there's groups people have to support. But there's just, I always want there to be a openness to like sharing information, and while you can't give it all away, for a lot of reasons, because sometimes it's how you apply, and that's the other thing. It's like there's no secret sauce. It's like it's all about application, mm-hmm. and that's why it's not, and it's application for like the everyday person, not like, and that's like why so many athletes, for a good reason, gravitate towards like professional triathletes, or these people who have been to Kona every year, to get coaching, and because they have this, accolade or whatever. But, it's always and always will be about how you give freely to people, and the communication that you have with everybody. And that goes with, the people who are on your team, the athletes you surround yourself with, your triathlon group, your local triathlon group, closed groups, because there's you can get negativity from so many places these days, because social media's arms stretch far and wide. But again, and I even have to remind myself of this daily. If I get annoyed sometimes, I'm making the choice to allow myself to be annoyed. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, I don't have to go look at Facebook. I don't have to scroll through Twitter. I don't have to open up Instagram. I'm just like choosing to be annoyed. I'm like, who gives it? Like, all right, time to get off, and do something else. Like, part of it is with the athletes that we work with, and we have to like cue in and do things and communicate. But most of the times it's just like, you want good things with good people, and you want it as often as you can. Mm-hmm. And if we can even be like remotely a small dose of that positivity or good information, then then I feel good about what we're doing.
Yeah, I mean, some of our coached athletes are really good, and some of them are beginners. And when I got into the sport, I got to admit, man, my attitude about triathletes in general has changed through all this process, because I would, you'd hear people go, "Oh, triathletes or whatever. Yeah, you guys are all blah, blah, blah." And then that sort of like, oh, maybe we are all the whatever, but it's not even true, I mean, there's certainly that is going to be out there, but
yeah,
I just feel like the people that have that are in our coaching and that you're working with are just awesome people, and it's just the whole thing has just reestablished kind of like a different perspective for me. And you got into the sport hoping that that's what you would see,
yeah,
and it kind of can let you down if you're kind of isolated on it, or you're alone with it, or you're not like a part of a group like this. I think that it's easy to kind of sort of be negative about things or something, and it's just, like I said, there's really good athletes at the top in some of the coaching that you do, and in our active athlete group, and they're just the coolest people ever.
Yep.
That have basically done what you said. It's just execute and do the work and try to get better. And it's not about being a know-it-all. And, like you said, I mean, I remember a long time ago when I was just starting with you, and I was really proud about a certain workout I did or whatever. And I was like, "Hey, man, do you mind if I like actually post the actual workout you assigned to me?" And you're like, "Yeah." He goes, "There's no secrets out there. It's just a workout. It's a matter of how you execute it, and I don't care if people are out there sharing workouts that I come up with. That's what you're saying to me." So I just always thought that was cool, and I think that's kind of the essence of what's going on here, is that there's no reason to hold back stuff, and we've never had. I remember we had that conversation. It's like, man, we're giving out a lot of information here. Should we hold back? And we decided, no, man, it's just like let it go to the world. All our experience, because everyone's experience is different, and it'll apply to some people differently than others. And I don't know. I definitely feel like it was the right decision to not try to be coming up, and then if you sign up for this, you'll get the rest of the story.
The rest of the story. What is that? Is that 60 minutes?
I don't know. It's something, but man, maybe it's come out over the years, but that was sort of my job for years, was to promote the news, and they used to call it teasing, and well, they still do, but now teasing is like that's the funny thing, is I was so sick of it and thought it was just completely ridiculous when I was doing it. And now it's mainstream. Like every little quote unquote marketing company is like, you got to tease them in, you got to suck them in. It's a funnel. You get them into the funnel, and then you squeeze them into the bottom, and then you suck their wallet dry. When they don't even know what happened.
Yeah.
It would be like I would just write these crazy things that would just leave you hanging, and you had to stick around and watch the news to see what happened, and then nothing ever happened. It was just a letdown. It was the overpromise, underdeliver capital of the world, that industry. And that's why I just love that, you've been on board from the get-go. It's just like, let's just give information and be solid, and, that'll take care of itself.
Yep. It's, and I mean, honestly, it's that, like you said, like there's your restoration, or your belief has been restored, and how many good people are really out there, because there are, and we've seen them, and they've shared their stories in the Facebook group, and they've are people that we've worked with, or some of them have even been on the podcast, and it is like I wouldn't really shove our podcast into obviously like a triathlon only podcast. If that's what you're looking for and you want to talk about swim, bike, run all day long 24/7, then we're definitely not for you. But that's good, because that's not what should be like the center of like your entire universe in life. like their triathlons should support it and be a positive avenue to find find things out about it. See, Maddie, that's like Maddie's amen.
That's Maddie. Amen.
Yeah. Amen.
Preach.
But it should complement it. And, I think that's the other, like, what's been the most, gratifying aspect of doing this as well has just been how so many athletes have, I guess, reached out, like, thank you for changing my perspective or helping me change my perspective on, and being more open-minded and maybe not so self-critical and not judging themselves. And hopefully, like I would much rather, while I feel like personal bests are important, in a lot of ways, like if you can change an athlete's mindset to finding out ways and figuring out ways to get more enjoyment and happiness and excitement and value and appreciation, and they become more grateful and of their workout sessions and their training and their abilities and their journey, like that's the stuff that lasts. Because like those things and those thoughts and feelings and new characteristics or attributes, like those are things that actually shape a human.
Yeah.
And if we can even be like a small ounce of what propels someone in that direction, or to change it from self-associating themselves with a PR, because nobody cares. Like they don't.
I know. I've said it many times.
I'm just saying, like, your one friend like down the street might like kind of care, but he doesn't. He's just pretending. But they care about the kind of person you are, and like so, like there's so much enjoyment to get out of the sport if you do it the right way and you approach things the right way and you're not so self-critical and you don't have like asinine expectations that you fail every single time but continue to make. There's just like, you can meet a lot of really great people. You can do a lot of crazy, awesome things. You can go to some very cool places, and you can do all these things while becoming healthier, getting fitter, meeting goals, bettering yourself as an athlete and a person, and then meeting people along the way who support that, perspective, and not let's only talk about numbers. Let's only talk about numbers, and there's just so much more to, it's like, I guess the analogy would be, it's like there's so much more to life than like the job you have and the money you make.
Yeah. Let me ask you a question, man. Like when you say like, people lining up this week or next weekend at Chattanooga, 2,500 or something like that.
Yeah, probably.
In a swim line. What percentage of those people you think have a healthy dose of fear in that line?
Healthy dose?
Or like a, good dose about the race that day, just like, or anxiety.
30 to 40%.
Okay. Yeah, I was going to say maybe at 50.
At least. Yeah, 30 to 40%. I mean, you and I's version of fear and anxiety might look different too.
This is true.
I think 30 to 40% at least, because I think that's usually, for a lot of races, that's usually the first time percentage, which is still always like, I kind of think about, because like that should dwindle because more people are doing it, but you should want more people in the sport. But no, I probably think 30 to 40%.
Well,
people have like have a healthy dose of fear, which is what I would call, like, when I hear you say that, what I hear is are like have a very healthy respect for things that could go wrong, and they're aware of that, and that fear is also more like, I don't want to fail because this means so much, not like I'm scared.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I mean, I think the number of like scared people is down, but I mean, I still feel that, and the way you put that is probably exactly what I feel, is sort of like the respect for the race, the enormity of what's about to happen once you splash in that water, and the day ahead. And I used to refer to it as walking the plank, because there's kind of no turning back. But which I think is a good thing, but I have to say that my perspective again has shifted a little bit in toward that almost feels like you're backed in the corner and you just have to slug your way out. And now I'm sort of in this, like, hey, I have an opportunity to go out and do something amazing. It's sort of like, in a way, rather than clenching my body going into that and like just toughening up and sucking it up, which I think you need, but I also have more of an open heart perspective on it too. It's like, I get to do this, and this, this is going to be an amazing experience versus like just all pain and, suffering, which, of course it is a lot of, but you know what I mean? So it's like, it's just like finding a balance too of that intensity and that enjoyment and loving the moment of it.
And like, take that to like the next step is like, you made it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think
that's what I'm getting at, is like, how do you lessen that healthy dose of fear and like balance it out a little bit,
I think that's like something that so many people forget to like, and we've talked about it a lot the last few podcasts, is like these unreal, out of nowhere, out of thin air goals that people make for themselves with, no data or proof that can say that it'll happen with the perfect life scenario a year later, and they get to the start line and the first things out of their mouth are like, yeah, but like I had this, and like, I did have that like ankle twinge back in May, and it set me back like 2 or 3 weeks. And first off, like, that's really not going to make that huge of a difference if it was just 2 or 3 weeks. But if you have a lot of stuff go on, which is what a lot of people have, they have just a lot of stuff go on in their life. Like, I was having this, I think, conversation with a athlete that's doing Louisville, and like she started working with me after Wisconsin last year in prep for Louisville this year, and since then I think she's sold and bought a new house. She got married with somebody else who had other kids. So like, talk about like intermingling like a new family together. So you got new school routes, dropping kids off. You got married, for the second time. You're getting a new house. You work as a full time. You started taking classes for school again. There's that like Ironman training, and then she had a bike wreck, and then now she's had some things like go on with some of her parents and people being sick and traveling back and forth. And we were texting, and I said, listen, I mean, who knows what the day is going to bring, but the way you need to look at it is just making it to the start line is huge. Mm-hmm. It's the most underrated aspect of this entire thing. It's just making it to the start line. If you can't be happy about that, and just look at it and say, I made it and you couldn't stop me. Like, it's the persistence and like the determination that, because like, yeah, our great performance is great. Yeah. But a lot of them come from like perfect scenarios, time wise. But some of the most, like, when I look back on like, coaching and stuff, like some of the best, finishes have been just that, where you saw an athlete go through like total hell the whole year and somehow made it to the start line, and then somehow made it through and finished. Like, that's the stuff that, is just like that you won't forget, and the athlete won't forget. But it's so much about just walk up to the start line and be like, I made it. Like, I made it here. I'm here. I didn't get hurt. I overcame obstacles. I found a way to get to the hotel, to go through check-in, to put on my wristband, and get my bike checked in. And now here I am, Sunday morning, surrounded by 2,500 to 3,000 other people who made it too. And now I get to just go through the day to see what I can make of it. Mm-hmm. Like, and nobody can take that away from you. And that is easily the best part of my job, is race day. And like being able to, like, everybody watches like documentaries these days. It's like the big thing. like, have you seen the documentary on so and so, the documentary on so and so, and like, as a coach, like every time I'm tracking a race, or even like when I'm fortunate enough to go to one, like at Chattanooga and Louisville, like I get to watch what I know. I'm like the, what do they call, like an early screening, or what do they call those things?
Mm-hmm.
Whatever they call them, like, where you get to watch
Case
the video.
study, like a.
No, like the private event where it's a screening
private
for, like,
screening.
Private screening. Like, I get to be the one who has the private screening before anybody else does, because I've been working with them for a year, 2, 3 years, 4 years. I know exactly what they've gone through the whole year, everything, all the things that aren't training related, and you get to see them make the start line and then go on and then finish, and you just get like your own private screening of like this person's journey for like a year at minimum to years, and to cross the finish line and what it means to them. And it's without a shadow of a doubt my favorite part is just stepping back, and because I really truly try to be like the very, very last person that they see, because coaches aren't supposed to be the first person you see. I mean, if it just happens that way, that's fine, but family and friends and like, you do all those things, but like, because as a coach too, I like to sit back and watch that, like, the spouses and the kids and the family, because like they've gone through stuff too. Mm-hmm. But it really puts into perspective like how awesome of an accomplishment in a sport it is to like sit back and watch what it means, not just to like the athlete that finishes, but how proud these people are of their kids or their wives or husbands, and then watch their kids be like, "Mommy, I can't believe you're daddy." It's like, those are the things that like, dude, like, if I could do it for free, I would do it for free in a heartbeat, because like that's the stuff that's meaningful. And so just taking that, I made it to the start line, that mentality is, you've already accomplished it. I think one of the very first podcasts we did, I used the analogy of race day is just graduation and getting your diploma. Like, that's the easy part compared to like the 3 a.m. wake-up calls and the 6-hour trainer rides and the long runs and the 100-degree heat and the lonely pool days where you didn't want to go, and going home early from a night out with friends, and like that. You gave all that up for this. So when you get there, be excited about it, and you should already be thankful and grateful that you made it. Mm-hmm. And that you get to do, like you said, you get to do what you get to do. Mm-hmm. Or you get to do what you've earned. The opportunity to do. Right. Because a lot of people, most people, and we say this too, anybody could do it. I wholeheartedly believe it. Anybody could do a 70.3, and anybody can do a full. They just don't want to, or they just don't think they can. And you click the button one day and you register because you thought you could. And when you made it to the start line, in my opinion, for the most part, you've already proven that you can. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, look, I've been, this will be my 6th Ironman, and there's been many times when I just thought about hanging it up, and I think so much of that was because I had the wrong perspective. And when I get to levels like I'm at now with consistent effort and staying within yourself too, I think that's a hugely underrated part of all this, is like not crushing yourself continually and being patient with your builds and your, speed gains and all that kind of stuff. And now I can almost say that, I think I can say actually that I'm more optimistic. I mean, I'm racing 55 to 90. What is my age group this year?
Old.
The old, damn near the oldest. And I can say that I'm probably, in the best headspace about this race that I have been maybe ever. And I just think that's a testament to like what this sport can do if you manage it the right way, if you have the right perspective and the expectations are right, and all that stuff you talk about consistently or all the time is like so important, And I think that the point is that it can benefit everything else, in your life. It can give you a clearer perspective on just everything you're doing. And it's sort of like a training ground for that in a way. It's like you learn how to handle Ironman training, for example, and then you learn how to handle other projects. So I don't know. I'm as you heard Maddie barking earlier, and if you're still listening, I want you to post something in the closed group and ask me about Pickles, who is my buddy's staying here in transition, and he has a little dog named Pickles, and I'm also watching her.
Hello, Pickles.
Hello, Pickles. The littlest, cutest little dog that's just always hungry.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
I bet you could take.
She doesn't
Pickles,
have teeth.
I bet you could take Pickles around the block and pick up a lady.
Might be possible.
Yep. But yeah, so we did.
If I want to in this neighborhood.
That's true. Yeah, I mean, back to the Facebook group. Like, we decided we're not gonna let you in unless you listen to the podcast, or you request to be in the Facebook group and you're between the ages of 45 and 55, single, and above average looking. Sorry. You can take all those. You can send those requests directly to my inbox, and I'll disperse them from there. But no, it's 200. It seems like it's been a long time, but it hasn't. And look forward to doing 200 more. I can't imagine what life will be like after 200, but
it's been scaled, bro.
Yeah, scalable, $1 million company, disrupting the market.
Did we introduce the C26 protein mix?
No, we haven't done that yet.
We're gonna the product line. Let's go with the
whole product line of beet juice. It's actually a beet juice, pickle juice protein mix.
Oh, that's okay.
Yeah, you get a free sample with any one of our Hurry Slowly shirts, proven to take 38 seconds off your Ironman time, and improve spectator experience by 7,800%.
Yeah. Okay, so you brought it up again. I want to bring it up again. We've got the store there. That's a great way to support the podcast and get something for it. You got these are nice quality shirts. People are digging them. And we don't make a ton, but it's a little something that goes towards the podcast. We have also kind of retooled. We had talked about, a long time ago, we launched sort of a Patreon support page, which is how, you can pledge, a certain amount per month towards the podcast, basically, to help with expenses and things like that and keep us going. And I've retooled it, and I've got two categories. One is $3.26 a month. The C equals the 3 and then the 26. So that's one tier. And then the next one is, if you feel a little more generous, is $13.26, and then there's a custom donation on there. But we want to kind of start doing that. But the key is that we're going to start we went a little prematurely on it, and now we're going to start putting extra things in there specifically just for that page, whether they're how to do certain swimming videos or whatever the case may be, and like different kind of posts and PDFs or whatever we come up with. We're going to try and flood that group a little bit more with some unique content for helping support the podcast. So that's at patreon.com/crushingiron. There is a link on the front page of our website too. You can also, there's a pledge page on our website that you can just donate, one time or whatever, and just leave it alone. So there's different ways, and we appreciate you helping us. I mean, it is about you guys, and like Robbie said earlier, it's that is what keeps us going in general. Just people listening and people emailing us and coming to camps and meeting everybody at races, and it's so awesome. I'm looking so much forward to Chattanooga. So we've got, how many people racing on there? Like 8?
10.
10? And just to watch them race, but just to see them. You get to the point where we've actually seen some of these, with the camps and other races and things, like we start to see them more and more, and they do become closer, and it's really a great way to, build your own little friendship base. It's just been awesome, and we're gonna be down there Thursday and hanging around to Monday.
Yeah, hanging out. So yeah, got to be there Monday. That's where all the fun starts.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll be there. Make sure you say hi. If you want to connect, you can always just shoot us a Facebook message too, or shoot me a Facebook message just for friends. If not, you can just email me directly, c26coach@gmail.com, or Mike at crushingiron@gmail.com. And hey, as a this is about you guys, and as a big thank you for helping put us. We're kind of like the North Dakota if we're on the map. We're very underrated, I think. While they've put us on the map, we don't want to be like a New York City or a Chicago or a Los Angeles, but we appreciate you making us North Dakota on the map of triathlon podcasts.
We appreciate you listening this long, because this is basically a dogcast in disguise.
Yeah, a place where you can retire. But if you, as a thank you, I would definitely say that if you want to, for only for training plans, but if you want one of our customized training plans, which you can see pricing on the website, we'll do 25% off with the code PICKLES for today and for Friday. So if you're waiting to hop on one of those, as a thank you for helping us get to podcast 200, because honestly, if you guys weren't listening, we probably wouldn't be doing this anymore. I'll do 25% off those training plans only with code. Well, let's just be appropriate. We'll do #pickles. And we appreciate it. We'll come to you next Monday, and then again Thursday as we get prepped for Ironman Chattanooga.
All right, buddy.
All right, dude.
You say that you wouldn't be doing it if people weren't listening, but I think I would be, because I enjoy talking to you.
Well, I don't know who you'd be talking to, because I wouldn't be doing it.
Well, you know me, man. I'll do my own podcast.
True. It could be anybody. You and Maddie, episode 2. But no, I'd still be doing it. But yeah. Well, have a good one. Have a good week, everyone. Or good luck to everybody doing Atlantic City 70.3, Augusta 70.3, Redmond 70.3, marathon, sprints, Olympics. Whatever you're doing, best of luck. Have fun. Smile. And remember that you made it.
Thanks a lot, buddy.
See you, dude.
See ya.